Hi everyone, welcome to another Candace's Corner. My name is Candace Cunningham. As you all know, I'm excited for my interview today with Dr. George Gotto and Emily Hartley. Just a little bit about myself. My name is Candace Cunningham. I am a person that with lived experience in cerebral palsy and developmental disabilities. I live in Kansas City, Missouri, and I work at the Institute for Human Development at UMKC, which is the UCEDD. I started participating in advocacy efforts in 2026. 2006. Sorry, so a long time ago. Our vision at IHD is we envision a world where all people live, work, and play in their chosen communities throughout their life course. Under the individual advocacy, we ensure that individuals with lived experience and DD are informed, recognized, and supported to have a leadership role and can help others reach success. So Candace is under the we said at the you said at UMKC ISC. So the we said of the you said is a speaker rule where training and technicals we are training and technical assistance centers for people with lived experience and developmental disabilities. Candace's Corner is a way to share information on important topics for people with lived experience with DD. So for this episode, it's called Missouri Developmental Disability Councils and UMKC Institute for Human Development Comprehensive Review Analyze Surveys. Say that 5 times. No. And this is under the People First priority of self-determination. Well, people or individuals are able to get the voice hold from professional and every. So I am very happy and lucky to be here interviewing Emily Hartley. She is the Executive Director of Missouri Developmental Disability Council, and Dr. George Gotto, who is my boss's boss, but no, also is the Director of UMKC Institute for Human Development. He's also Director of Missouri University Center of Excellence for Developmental Disabilities. Whew. Hi,
A lot, Candace. Wow.
thank you guys for both taking the day out of the time out of your day to come on and join me on Candace's Corner.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate the invitation.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you.
So before we dive into what the survey is about, I want to get more information on Missouri Developmental Disability Council and what that is.
Yeah, Candace, we are a governor appointed council, And our council is comprised of self-advocates, so adults with developmental disabilities, family members of people with developmental disabilities, and then we also have agency representation on our council. And so the council works together to spend federal funding to create systems change in the state of Missouri. And our mission on the council is for people with developmental disabilities and their families to be included in all aspects of community. So that includes education, employment, housing, the whole gamut.
How long, and this is for my information too, but how long has the DD Council been around?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm not great with dates off the top of my head, but for a long time. So the DD Act, which is where we originally kind of were rooted in, was signed by President John F. Kennedy back in the 60s. So, I mean, it's been a long time. And each state and a couple of territories across the nation have DD councils, as well as UCEDDs, which is what where George works.
Yeah, awesome. Sorry, I didn't mean to throw you off.
That's okay.
And then this question is for you and George. What is the council and IEC relationship as part of the DD network?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the DD Act, which is why we're here, why we do our work, it has three major components to it. So the council is one component, and we focus on building capacity and systems change and advocacy. And then there's also the UCEDD, which is where Dr. Gotto works, right? So they're doing training and education and research. And then we also have a third component, which is called protection and advocacy. And that's like the legal and advocacy realm of what we do. So together, we work together as a DD network to really make a difference for people with developmental disabilities and families in the state of Missouri.
So the DD network is like, in the metaphor, like a train. Or like, no, I guess a train
Tool.
where we could, a tool. Thank you. A tool that as individuals we can either reach out to the UCEDD, to the DD Council, or P&A because of depending on what's going on.
Yes, correct.
Okay. I like that word better than train. Sorry.
That's work. Well, they call it the DD network the DD stool with three legs. So the UCEDD is a leg, the DD Council is a leg, and then the protection and advocacy is a leg. That, I guess, disability work sits on that stool or something.
So, what is the purpose of the Missouri DDC 5-year plan?
Yeah, the purpose of our 5-year plan is it's the strategic guidance that we use to make sure we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. So the 5-year plan has goals and objectives, and the council creates projects and uses our resources to work towards those goals and those objectives. And when we do work towards those goals and objectives, then we're doing the right work to create the change that we need to see. So it really helps guide us to make sure we're staying really focused on what the needs are in the state and that we're using our resources wisely.
And and you answered this question. The 5-year plan impacts individuals in a way that how you perform within the next 5 years. And if you're listening to what the individuals said are important.
Right.
Is that correct?
It is correct. So we as a council can't pick up work or create work that isn't needed in the state. So the 5-year state plan makes sure that we're really doing the work that's needed. It's kind of an accountability measure and a guidance for us to make sure we're doing the right stuff.
So George, this is a question that's not on this, but how is IHD involved with this?
Well, in a lot of ways, actually. So one is that because we are a partner or sister entity with the DD Council, we also try to align our goals, 5-year goals, with theirs, so that the work that they are doing and the work that we're doing kind of overlap, and so we can make sure that we're having the greatest impact on the state that is possible. But Emily mentioned earlier that one of our roles as University Center for Excellence in Developmental Disabilities is to do research and evaluation in the state. So the DD Act says, UCEDDs have to do that. And so that's our other, the other thing that we are doing here is that we're working with Emily and her staff to develop the survey for the CRA and a comprehensive review of and analysis of needs around the state. So we're working with them to do that, and it's more than just a survey though. It's also we're doing listening sessions around the state with people with lived experience, with their family members, and then also with those providers who provide different services to people with developmental disabilities. So by doing all those things, we are trying to, get the best picture possible about what are the needs of people with developmental disabilities in our state, and then how can we, both individually, our organizations, both individually and together, work to address those needs.
Thank you, George. So, I have a follow-up question on that question. Sorry. When individuals or family members or supporters take the survey or listening session, how will their answers be anonymous?
Absolutely. No one will be identified. We honestly, we don't even ask people their names we don't ask people to put their name on the survey, and we don't ask people for their names if they're part of a listening session. If someone's name is ever mentioned, we make sure that it's never recorded or made as part of our sort of database. So it is completely anonymous.
That's
Simple.
good. That's good. Thank you. What with the CLA, what topics would be covered in that, or what?
Yeah, so the CRA, and we also call it the needs assessment. So you might see some things on social media calling it a needs assessment. So the needs assessment will ask questions about employment. It will ask questions about housing, about technology, recreation, what kind of services people get in the state of Missouri. Transportation is another question that we really focus on. It's really all of the major topics that affect people's lives in receiving services and supports, because ultimately we want the systems in the state of Missouri to support people with disabilities and their families, so that they can live inclusive lives, right? They can live in their communities with people that they want to live with and work with people that they want to work with. And so questions on those topics will help us understand where we're doing really great work in the state of Missouri and where we might need extra attention or investments in our resources.
So, would you say, follow-up question, and maybe this isn't the perfect way to say it, but would you say it would be like person-centered questions in a way?
Person-centered planning, is that what you mean?
Yeah.
We do ask questions about that, and home and community-based services too, right? So how is HCBS being implemented in the state of Missouri, and how are people getting services in their communities? Are there any barriers for that? Or are there things that are working really well that gets people into services in their communities quickly and with the right support? So yeah, we do look at person-centered planning.
We also, Candace, another part of it is family centered. So there's a whole section in the survey that asks specifically about sort of family needs as well as the person's needs.
Oh, that's good. So it's the whole person, because family is important to that person to be successful in their daily life. That's good to know. And I believe Georgie touched on this a little bit, but how do you plan to gather the information to develop the 5-year state plan?
And a couple ways. One is we have the survey that we're using, and that is available in a couple different formats. One, it's online, so hopefully I can share our URL and QR code with you after this to put in the show notes here. But people can be able to take it online, and so that's one way. The other way is that people can fill out use a paper and pencil form of the survey as well. So whichever is more convenient, we'll have those available. The other thing is in the listening sessions, those data will, the information that we collect will just help provide stories that, sort of amplify what we're hearing and or seeing in the survey data.
And we kind of touched on this question, but who is the target audience for the survey?
So we really want to hear from people with lived experience, so people with developmental disabilities. We want to hear from family members as well, and we're really interested in kind of the professional side, so agency representatives or anybody that's working in disability services in the state of Missouri. Those three pieces will build a really clear picture for us on what the needs are in the state.
Once the survey is completed, how will the collected data be used to shape future entities and policies?
That's a good question. So one thing that we'll do is we will use that data and we will write a really long report for Emily and the DD Council that just highlights all the main findings from the survey, all the things that people are telling us. But then in partnership with Emily and the DD Council, we'll develop other products that hopefully can be shared out, so it might be an infographic says, here are the 5 biggest needs based on the survey that highlights them, or some other, maybe you could invite us back to hear about the results, Candace. That might be fun. But there'll be things like that. We'll try to make the results as accessible as possible. If but mostly we'll have the report. Emily and I will probably spend some time talking with different organizations around the state about what we learned. We'll also then have the infographics and I don't know, would you add anything to that, Emily, that I'm forgetting?
So the council will use the CRA, or the needs assessment report, to create their next 5-year state plan. So their next goals and objectives for their work. So that's the CRA report is the starting place for us to do that. So first we need to understand what's going on in the state, and the report will tell us that, and then the council will work on strategic planning to say, okay, so what should our goals be over the next 5 years, and then they'll create those goals. And another way that the council uses the CRA is we use it. One of the ways that there's systems change efforts through the council is through public policy. And so a lot of the times when we're working in public policy and we're advocating for policies or we're educating policymakers, they want to know specific data. They want to see a picture of the issues for people with disabilities. So we will bring the CRA, or we will tell people to look at the CRA for information on topics like transportation or guardianship, healthcare, all of those hot topic issues, right? And that will help policymakers better understand what's going on so that we can better advocate for what needs to happen.
So the CRA is good for you, DD Council and UCEDD, but it's also good for people with lived experience to have that data to say, hey, this is what we know from this survey. And to advocate and to pressure not pressure, but to get what we want, basically.
That's right. And
Yeah.
that's why it's so important that the CRA is available in plain language or easy to read, because not everybody is, in a research field, right? So the research terminology is important, but it's also important that everybody in Missouri can look at that report and understand it, and then talk to their policymakers about issues that are important to them.
I have a follow-up question to that. So when we are giving out the surveys, what you said it would be in plain language, but would it be in different, like Spanish, or would it be just in English?
We also have it available in English and Spanish.
Okay.
We're also, just FYI, working with different organizations and or family groups for people who have disabilities and and speak Spanish. So
That's good to know. Thank you. Well, that was my last question. Do you guys have any follow-up thing, comments?
well, I'm just really excited personally to number one, just go around the state. I was meeting with some of our staff earlier today and mapping out, planning listening sessions with people first groups around the state, and so I'm really excited to do that. And then so I think it's just gonna be fun for me.
Yeah, and I'm very excited because UMKC IHD, they did our last CRA a couple years ago, and so when we do this CRA, we'll have a nice comparison to look back and see what might have changed over the last 5 years. And so that's going to really help us leverage our work to really focus very deeply on what we need to be working on. So that's a really great perk of doing it this round this year. And then after the CRA is finished, the council will do its state plan development, which will have our goals and objectives, and we'll put that out for public comment. And that will happen in probably January of 2026. And that's another space where people can give us feedback and say, hey, I don't know if that's a great goal, or maybe you should think about it this way instead. And the council will look at that public comment, and they'll use that to consider whether they're going to finalize their goals and objectives. So it all comes full circle.
I love the connection, and I just learned today that I will be helping someone out on this project, so I'm excited to do that and get to meet, not meet people, but get to listen to people and be in that background. So I want to thank you both, Emily and George, for coming on today. Just a summary about today's interview. Emily talked about, gave information on Missouri Developmental Disability Council, or MODDC. I have to say that. And then Emily and George both gave a good information on how ISD and the DD Council work together. And then we got to learn about information about the state 5-year plan and how us as advocates or family members can be involved with this to make sure that our voices are heard for the next 5 years in the DD Council plan. So I thank you very much to George and Emily, and have a great day.
Thank you, Candace. Thanks, Emily.
Thanks, George.